here in Stick Library, I use a slightly different head combination than I do out live. Stick Library is basically a full-blown recording studio slash video editing studio, so the head combination is that I would use in the recording studio. My popcorn snare drum is a standard texture coated, and it gives me that really tight attack, but still that smoothness of the texture coating kind of gives it just that little bit of warmth I need for the snare drum sound when I'm using it in some different kind of funk grooves and that type of thing. My snare drum, I actually use the same snare drum head here in the studio as I do live. I use the Focus X, and what the Focus X does for me is very extraordinary. It thickens up the sound so much, both live and in the studio. My snare drum requires very little EQ when I'm recording with this Focus X on there, and it's exactly what the name implies. It really focuses the sound, especially the center of the drum with no rim shot, is extremely fat and still has a lot of attack to it with just enough warmth to take that annoying mid-range that I don't like out. So the head is a perfect recording head. Here in the studio, the Aquarian Classic Clears, both top and bottom, they give me, and especially with this new film, the new Mylar that you guys are using, it gives me all of the attack that I need. It gives me all of the fullness that I need, and with very little to no EQ on these drums, they bring out the natural sound of the wood in these drums. It's amazing to sit down at the recording console after I've done a track and realize just how little I need to do to these drums to make them sound exactly like they sound in my ear. And I use those all the way around to my 18-inch floor tom here. On the kick drum, I use the Super Kick 1. And it again has the muffling strips on the inside in just the right locations, and I use the front head with the mic hole in it, and that really gives me all the control I need, both for live and in the studio. Live on my toms is a little bit of a different story. When I'm playing live, I use the Response 2, and the Response 2 is just a little bit more durable because obviously it's a little thicker head. But with that being said, I don't lose any of the attack with the Response 2s. They still give me all of the attack that I need, but for live, those heads really round out that low end for me. The Response 2s with this new Mylar, the new film that Aquarian is using now, are unbelievable, especially on the attack end. Obviously that drum head being just a little bit thicker, it gives you naturally all the low end you need. But with this new film, and it's funny because as a drummer, you begin to see the sound of your drums just like you hear them. You know that sound, and surprisingly enough, the crystal clarity of this new Mylar really does affect the high end on these. The drums just sound huge. I'm getting so much more out of a smaller drum, and I attribute that a lot to the Response 2s. Basically, all that I'm doing to process these drums, I just bring that individual tom up, and I might EQ just a little bit of the mid-range out, but very little processing is done on these. And the attack, again, using these drum heads in the studio, the attack on these drum heads is second to none. In the studio, I tune the bottom head to the note that I want to hear, and then I bring the top head right to the response that I want to feel out of the drum. Live, I try to find a happy medium on that. Again, I tune the bottom head to the note that I want to hear, and I put just a little bit more tension on the top heads to keep the attack at an optimum. And then what I do is once I've got that top head, then I detune the bottom head just a little bit to kind of round out that drop off on the note. All those tunes are actually from our catalog, and those are original songs. They're written by a very close friend of mine, Steve Hanlon, and what we do is I'll give him a groove idea encompassing one of the concepts that we're covering. For instance, on some of these you're hearing kind of a 3-note grouping concept with a 16th note pattern. So I'll give him these ideas at 3 or 4 different tempos. For instance, on the tunes that you're hearing here, a 3-note grouping and a 16th note pattern and all the applications that it has musically as far as fills and grooves go. I will record several examples of that and I'll send them off to my songwriting partner. He'll send them back to me and I'll take them and I'll do some arrangement stuff on them and come up with some different modes that I'd like to hear. For instance, this Moroccan tune, I really wanted to hear that Middle Eastern sound on that groove, and sent it back to Steve, and within a couple of hours we had a completed project. So yeah, and these are available at Stick Library for download as part of the lesson. You can download the MP3 and actually play along and create your own grooves and your own fills to these tunes with a click track, and it's a lot of fun. It's a good way to learn. Hi, I'm Jamie Borden with StickLibrary.com, and I endorse Aquarian Drumheads.